Hey everybody, it's Rod with the Photo Fair coming back at you with another video. First video of 2020, so Happy New Year everybody. It's been a while since I put a video together. I've got some machinery operating outside. I'm just doing this in my dining room in my house, so you just have to deal with my, kind of crappy setup here. But I do want to talk about something that I think is really cool, something that came up recently when I was shooting some photos of one of our models that we use to on our Photo Fair website at photofair.com. Updated some of those photos, and I have a old Norman 500 with 3 heads. I've used that. I mean, I bought it used. This thing was a dinosaur when I bought it in the early 1990s. It was already like 20 years old. So I mean, this thing's, it's old. And it finally, right in the middle of the shoot, just went, and it's gone. And it just doesn't make sense for me. I don't shoot studio type photography much anymore. As a matter of fact, more often than not, I'm setting up a little, thing like I've got right here for video, which certainly studio strobes don't work for video. So I decided that I needed to come up with something to replace the Norman rather than buying another 30-year-old Norman pack and probably have that one crap out on me. And I already had 2 Canon flashes. Now, for those of you who follow this video channel and follow my blog, Couve Camera, you know that I shoot the EOS R as my full frame camera. I love the EOS R. I've had it for over a year now, and I'm not down on it at all. Yeah, Canon could have put IBIS in it, sure. Sure, they could have put 2 card slots in it. They didn't. I'm over it. I'd like to have IBIS in the next iteration of the camera, and I'll probably buy it if it has IBIS. If it doesn't, I'll probably just keep shooting this one. This is a great camera. But anyway, I have a 580 flash from Canon. This is, I don't know if it's their top of the line flash, but it's one of their better flashes. And I use this on my 5D Mark II. I use it on my 5D Mark III, and I'm using it now on my EOS R. And it's a great flash. Now, one of the things that Canon, and I also had my old flash, was a 480, a 430 EX, okay? And this is an older flash. I've had this since the earliest, like when I got my first digital camera, SLR. I think it was a Canon D30, I think, that I used this on. It might have been when I got the 10D. I can't remember, but I've had this since the early 2000s. So, and it just sits in my bag. I hardly ever use it. So anyway, here I am. I'm in a situation. My Norman system has crapped out. I've got to shoot pictures of this model. I've hired her to come in and be the model, and it's like, holy cow, my lights just crapped out. So I had these 2 flashes, and then it dawned on me. Canon, way back in the 1990s, came up with a slave setup built into their flash units. And I thought, well, I can make that work. Now, I didn't have the 3rd unit that you see here. This 2 flash setup worked so well, I thought, why don't I just buy another one of these and I'll have a 3 strobe setup. How cool is that? Portable, small, fits in a tiny little bag. I wonder if this is going to work. Well, it did. These are the photos. Now, understand, this was impromptu. I didn't even have a proper light stand for the flash. You don't even want to know how I had to rig this thing up on the site to get this done. But the pictures came out pretty well. Take a look. So it worked. In a pickle, in a pinch, got it done. So I thought, I wonder how much these strobes are. I see them at Photo Fair all the time. And I thought, wow, these things are usually sitting on tables for, 30, 40, 50 bucks. I can just pick up a couple more of these. And so I did. I actually went on eBay and got this one for 35 bucks, I think, 36 bucks, something like that. That was shipped, delivered to my house. And at the next Photo Fair, February 22nd at the Newark Pavilion, by the way. You can check photofair.com for all the upcoming shows. Capitalism break, gotta do it. Anyway, and I'm gonna get another one, okay, just to have multiples in case I have a failure or something. They're cheap, they're easy, they're small, they're light, and I am convinced that this is gonna be adequate for what I'm doing these days. Now, back in the day when I was shooting film and I actually had was working out of a real studio, yeah, we had big Norman 2000 packs. We had 3 of them in that studio. But I don't do that kind of thing anymore. And digital cameras are so much friendlier with light than film cameras were, that I can get away with this. This is strong enough to shoot, like if you're a wedding photographer and you're doing, you need like a multi-flash setup, this will work pretty well for the types of shots you might do as a wedding photographer or any kind of a light studio work. On location stuff, maybe you're that's really been the hot thing, I know, with young people getting their graduation photos and so on. They like to be outdoors now. They don't want to be in a studio with a backdrop. They want the outdoors, the trees or a river behind them or whatever, the ocean, and having a little portable battery powered lightweight system like this could be awesome. So I wanted to take a quick moment and just show you how it works. If you think it's pretty cool, you can go to Photo Fair, you can go to any camera show in your area or your local camera shop that still sells secondhand gear. Canon, back in the 90s, they came up with a slave system. So take a look. You've got this flash. It says off, and it says master, and then it says slave. If it's set to off, then there's no radio slave activity at all. You put it to master, and this becomes the flash that's connected directly to the camera. Now, it doesn't have to be in the hot shoe. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to put it in the hot shoe, okay? But it doesn't have to be in the hot shoe. I have a TTL off-camera cord. It's coiled. I can get this flash pretty far off the camera. You can do that, but it does have to be in contact with the camera. Then you've got these two. Now, I prefer the Canon flashes that have the mechanical lever to go from off to slave, okay? So it makes it really super easy. Some of the Canon flashes that were made didn't have a mechanical lever at all. You had to do it all through the menus. And it's not super hard. I've done it. I've played with the menus, but it's a little more cumbersome. So just having it with the toggle switch really speeds up the process of setting this up. I'm going to get both all these flash units on. Okay. Now there are 4 channels that you can use. That's designed to keep you from getting interference from other radio devices or another photographer in another room or something of that nature. So you want to make sure that all the flashes are on the same channel. Again, you do that once you put it in slave mode. You just push this mode button and it gets everything blinking, and then you just use these buttons here, and I got a little close up here, you can see, and that allows you to change the channel. I've got these all set on channel 4. Okay, so they're ready to go. You'll notice the minute you get everything turned on, the slave flashes, they all start blinking. Okay, so that tells you they're communicating. That's all those little lights are doing. So I'm going to turn these at a slight angle so we don't flash right into the camera here. And I'm going to turn the camera on. We're going to take the lens cap off, and I'm going to show you how this works. So basically, I'm going to flash this, and bam, both flashes went off. What you can do is I went out because my umbrellas were set up to go right through, pardon the chainsaw noise, doing some tree service out in front here. The umbrellas that I have were set up to go right through my Norman strobe heads. And so in order to use these with umbrellas, I had to get some simple little swivel adapters. You can get them at, you can find people at the photo fair that have them, but you can also get them on eBay for $2-3, something like that. They're very, very reasonable. And so I ordered a bunch of those. And what it allows you to do is, instead of having the umbrellas run through the Norman flash heads or Speedotron or whatever, you just slide this into a cold shoe on there. The umbrella comes in like this, and then it's mounted on top of your light stand. So it just turns this into a studio strobe. And umbrellas are great for flashes. I do have soft boxes. I prefer soft boxes. I haven't set these up for use with my soft boxes yet. That's a little more complicated because of the way my soft boxes are set up. Again, they're designed to go on a Norman Studio strobe, and I don't have an adapter that I can effectively use this with my soft boxes. So I'm just using the umbrellas. From a portable standpoint, umbrellas are so much faster to set up than soft boxes. They fold flat and they work like an umbrella like you would use out in the rain. You just pop it up, stick it in the little adapter, clamp it down, and you're good to go. So they set up really fast. Again, I prefer the soft box light, but umbrellas are pretty good. Now, just as a quick note, just sort of generic lighting 101, the reason we use either a softbox or an umbrella is what we want to do is we want to make the light source really big relative to your subject. And the reason is that that makes the light a little more soft. It's kind of like if you think about lighting on a bright sunny day, the sun hits your subject and casts these dark, contrasty shadows. Now, in that situation, if you're shooting somebody's face, you get the same problem. You get these harsh shadows. Our faces are not flat. You know, they've got features, we've got a nose, we've got eyebrows, we've got all that stuff. And so the direct sunlight is very harsh. And the reason direct sunlight is very harsh is because the sun is up in the sky. It's kind of it's almost a pinpoint light source. Yes, the sun is really big, but it's kind of a pinpoint light source. When it's cloudy and overcast, you don't get the direct sun. The sun is hitting the clouds and filtering out, and it's softer. It produces a softer, more pleasing light, particularly when shooting people. Well, that's what an umbrella or a softbox is designed to do, to diffuse the light, make it kind of bigger and softer, okay? And you'd have to talk to a physicist, talk about what the photons are doing and all that stuff. That's not me, okay? What I do know is you want a nice, big, soft light source, and you want to get it closer to your subject. The closer it is to your subject, the softer and swirlier and more delicate the light will be. Couple of things now, real important, and that's really good. If you want a simple, easy lighting setup, what's really cool is you can use this in TTL mode. So that's where the cameras off the film plane flash has been around since the 80s. Really, actually, Olympus had it in the 70s. But this is where, instead of having a little sensor on the flash unit that measures the light output and then kind of tells the strobe, okay, enough is enough, this does it right through the lens. You get to choose the f-stop. You get to choose. It does all, the flash is controlled by the computer's camera. It measures the light as it's coming through the lens, bouncing off the sensor, and the flash says, okay, that's good exposure. So that's great, easy. Now, it's not always what you want, especially if you want to set up different light values for the manual strobe heads here. So for example, sometimes you want to have one sort of like a fill light and a main light. Now in that situation, TTL might hurt you on that because TTL is going to try and balance it all out. A lot of times you want sort of a main light and then you want sort of a fill light that's maybe a half stop to a full f-stop less intense. And so that gives a little depth and dimension to a person's face. If you make the ratio stronger, like 2-to-1, 3-to-1, then sometimes the facial features become more pronounced, kind of more like you might get in a sunny situation. And sometimes it's not flattering, but sometimes it can make somebody look intense. And then sometimes you might just want flat lighting. So you can control that by using the manual settings on these flashes. All these flashes here from Canon and Nikon and Sony that are more sophisticated flashes like these with the bounce head and all that, they allow you to go to manual using the mode switch. You just push the mode switch, ETTL starts to blink, and it's ATTL or whatever TTL that the camera manufacturer uses. For Canon, it's called ETTL. And then you push the mode button, and then you use these buttons over here to move through. And you can go to manual, and you can set the power output of the flash. So the flash, it's usually 1/16, 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, or full power. Now, bear in mind that if you set this to full power, it's going to just give the flash everything it's got. And then it's going to take 4 or 5 seconds, even with fresh batteries, for it to recycle. And as your batteries wear, that recycle time is going to drag longer and longer. And you won't need full power. If you're willing to shoot your camera at ISO of 400, you won't need full power. This camera delivers beautiful results at 400. I'm happy with it. So you can do like 16th power. And then what you can do is you can either set the two strobes, the main and the fill, at the same distance from the subject, one at a 16th and one at an 8th, or you can set them both at a 16th and just kind of move one of the lights a little closer to the subject. A lot of different ways you can do that sort of main to fill. When you do it this way, however, you are going to have to either take a few test shots with your camera to make sure you get the exposure right, the proper f-stop, or you can use a flash meter. And I have a flash meter, and the nice thing about a flash meter is you can set one strobe up, fire it, measure the amount of light coming out of that strobe, and at that distance it'll say, okay, f4. You're all right, I can work with that. Then you put you turn that one off, then you set the fill light off, and you get, say, 5.6. And then you go, okay, so this one's a little bit, actually I got that backwards. So this would be, say, the main light's at 5.6 and the fill light's at f4. So what you would do is you'd set your exposure actually for the 5.6. And that way the fill light isn't quite getting you maximum exposure. It gives you a little bit of shading, a little bit of depth to the face. If you like to overexpose in general, then you might set it to the f4 and let the main light be a little stronger than proper exposure. Generally, overexposure is a little better than underexposure for people. These are just general rules, though. Everybody has their own technique. So that's how you would do that. I still have a flash meter, which I would use, and that's real effective. It allows me to set up the lights the way I want them and then get my readings and set everything up. So I can maybe do, if anyone's interested in that, I can do a flash meter video about how to use a flash meter in another video. This is not the place for that. But so that's kind of really, in a nutshell, that's kind of how these things work. You can use them manually. I used them in TTL when I had to improvise, because at this point I was frustrated. I just set it up real quick and I did it in TTL, and it actually worked out pretty well. And remember, you can, like I said, they make a cord that lets you get this off the camera. This flash has to be fired by the camera, okay? And it needs to be fired directly from either the hot shoe or from a cable off camera. So if the camera doesn't fire this flash, the radio slave doesn't work. And I believe it needs to be using with all the electronic contacts on the camera, so it won't work PC. It's a great system. It's super cool. It bailed me out of a difficult situation recently, and so I'm real happy. I hope that helps you out. If you got any questions about it, just drop me a little note in the comments down below, and please be sure to visit photofair.com. The next show is Newark, California on February 22nd. Also, down in Tucson, Arizona, they're having their 62nd annual show in March. I think it's first week in March. It's on the website, photofair.com. 62 years they've been doing that show. That show is now eligible for Social Security. That's got to be one of the oldest shows in the country. And then you've got the big Seattle show. It's actually in Kent, just south of Seattle, put on by the Puget Sound Collectors Society. Big show, 140, 150 tables. Great show. It's once a year. Graham and I are going to go up, have a table there, and really enjoy the show. I hope we see you there as well. And we'll have a outdoor show this summer in San Rafael. That's new. We're going to be doing that end of June, first part of July. Stay tuned to photofair.com to find out more information about that. Portland, middle of September. We're excited about that. It's now our biggest show. And then we'll be back at the Newark Pavilion in November. So that's a full slate of shows for calendar 2020. I'm excited about all the camera shows. Love to see you guys out there. You pick up deals on stuff like this, play around with it, see how it works. They're a lot of fun. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.